Well, if any of you are ever curious, I wonder what Scott does in the evenings. I wonder what he, let's say it's around 8 o'clock or so. I wonder what he's doing right now. Because a lot of you are really in tune with my work, and we're connected on a personal level as well, and so you kind of follow things, I share things with you. Well, typically in the evening, the lights are on in the workshop. Even though my hours posted are until around 6 p.m., I'm oftentimes here until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes even, some of you in the inner circle know this to be true, I'm even here until midnight. So for any skeptics out there that say, is VSM still a thing? Is that a real job? Is that being gainfully employed? Well, I would say working from around 8 o'clock in the morning until sometimes midnight, I'd say that qualifies as gainful employment. So a recent note that I happened to read where someone was writing about this type of work and questioning whether or not it was gainful employment. An Alice, which happens to be from the great state of Wisconsin, down around Green Bay. My answer to that skeptic is, why don't you come and hang out with me at the workshop? Matter of fact, I'll put you to work and get you to do some of the things that I have to do. Like the project I'm working on right now to finalize this Swedish beauty for Kimberly, who lives out in Clinton, Massachusetts. See, that's the thing about a business like this. Unless people follow it, unless they do a little bit of research and due diligence, they have no idea the scope and the reach of a business like this. A little business like this in Oconto, Wisconsin, that reaches not only across our nation, but around the world. And regularly at live streams and premieres, we have participants and we have people involved in the active chat from anywhere from Brazil to the UK to Australia to Ireland to Germany to Finland to Sweden. The list goes on. So again, I go back to that skeptic. Is this type of work that I've been doing for about the last 22 years, is this really a job? Is this really being gainfully employed? You know what? You need to dig a little bit deeper before you jump to such a brainless conclusion like that. I don't know how to say it any more kind than that. The scope of this operation touches so many lives across the country and around the world and draws so much credibility because of all of you that we've been able to put on 2 significant fundraisers. One to support the History Museum down in South Bend, Indiana, through Cow Country Vintage and all of its supporters, raising almost $12,000. Through another fundraiser local to Oconto, the Humane Society here, setting a goal of $5,000, which a lot of people thought we would never come close to. Most of my following is global and across the country, many other states. How would we raise $5,000 for a local Humane Society here in Oconto, Wisconsin? We raised $6,400 and in a little bit over 11 days. So again, a shout out to all of you skeptics that question, is VSM still a thing? Is Cow Country a legitimate business? Is Scott really doing gainful employment through his work there? My answer is simple. Yeah, big time, big time. So if that hurts you, if that bothers you, get over it. Because you know what? I'm going to stand fast and firm on the type of work that I've been doing for a long time now and have touched so many lives, and through this business and through all of you, been able to touch so many other lives through our fundraising efforts and through our educational platform. That's what we have here at Cow Country, is a classroom that touches countless lives, educates, inspires, and revolutionizes thinking of what sewing can look like. You know what I mean? Yeah, you do. Because you're some of the real believers. You're not a skeptic. Like Alice from Green Bay. So let me show you kind of what I'm working on right now for Kimberly from Clinton, Massachusetts. That's right. This very smart, savvy lady from Clinton, Massachusetts, out of anywhere she could go in the country to select a Swedish beauty. She could have gone to Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, could have gone to Etsy, could have gone anywhere. But she sought out my machines because they're the best in the world. Because this is a business that has established a reputation that is brag-worthy. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that reputation and the work that we do here. So let me show you this. This carrying case is going to be a way that Kimberly's able to get portability with her Swedish Beauty. She's going to be able to go around, show it off. But you know what? This case, after sitting in my overflow area, which is basically upstairs out in the garage area, it collected a lot of dirt over the years. You can see this side is just, it's brown and filthy. It's got marks. Even the handle is still really, really nasty looking. Hopefully you can see that filth on there. Matter of fact, I'll zero in and zoom in on it so you can see it. You see how dark and dingy and nasty it is? How nasty looking this side is. See all that? Ugh. That would not be a case to carry a Swedish Beauty in, not by any stretch of the imagination. And these locks right here, I'm buffing over them right now using a soft wire brush on my Dremel style tool to get all of the rust. It's amazing how rust in a slightly moist environment can collect on anything at all that's a type of metal. Even something like this, which is primarily aluminum. It was just filthy here as well. Look at that handle. Blech. But look at the other side that I've already touched. Now this is the yucky side, right? Already just doing a little bit of cleanup on this, because I'm not going to send any junk out the door. It's not going to happen. Look at this side in comparison. You see how bright that is and how clean and fresh it looks compared to the other side? Look at that. Lighting's kind of weird at this angle right here. Hopefully you can see some of that. So even from this distance, anyway, you can see, even from there, you can see the contrast. There's the dirty side, all that filth, and then this side over here. And you might be asking, okay, what are you doing to clean that? It's like a cloth style material, isn't it? It is. It's a cloth style material. And to get it this bright and white again, so that Kimberly can be proud of carrying her Swedish Beauty, whether she's out and about at a sewing class or visiting a friend or going to a quilting retreat or wherever she goes, we want the case to look like this, not to look like that. And we don't want to knock it off the seat either. You can see straight away, just that's still really nasty. So let me show you what I'm using. It's nothing super fancy. You can get it at any major retailer. Any major retailer. Okay? And it even kills germs too in our COVID type environment, which is always good, right? Probably only 99.9. You always wonder about that other 0.01%, don't you? But this is called Lemon Scent Great Value, which is a Walmart brand. All-purpose cleaner, kills 99.9. I didn't remember it actually said that, but I was just joking around before. Kills 99.9% of germs, cleans and disinfects. And it really does a fabulous job. And this stuff is not expensive at all either. So to get it looking, you know, to get this side looking a lot more like this side, which is really white and bright and beautiful, all you need to do is, and be fairly generous with this stuff. Again, it's not expensive. Just kind of spray it down a little bit, mist it down, get it to soak in a little bit onto this stuff. We're not going to get everything off, but we're going to try to get the bulk of that beauty and white back so that Kimberly doesn't have to be ashamed of walking around with this case. Already it's starting to bubble up. Already it's starting to eat away at that grime and all the buildup on this case that collects over time. We start to wipe it off. Already look at on this bottom half. You can see the demarcation line right there where we've got white and bright down here. We've got filthy, yucky, blah up here. We just continue to wipe it, kind of let it soak in a little bit. Some areas might need a little bit more attention. And again, some of the areas might not come out. It's been on the cloth material so long that it's just not going to clean off. but I'll give my best effort to try to get it cleaned up. Now remember how it looked. It looked a lot like this spot right here, and this is kind of a sticky spot, so I might have to go after that with a little bit of steel wool. And steel wool is a wonderful all cleaning type tool for a lot of surfaces. You just need to test it out and be careful that you don't go too hard and too fast. You know what I mean? Better wipe off my seat too, or if I sit down and I'm going to slide right off. So what a difference that has made. You can see it now. It's a mirror and match practically of this other side right over there. Look at the side over here. That has all that staining and filth on it as well, right along there. Hopefully you can see that in the shot. Yeah, we're coming a little bit closer. Even on that little band that kind of goes around there, all that yuckiness. So we're just going to try to make a little bit of an impact on that as well. Again, I'm not going to get it absolutely perfect. It's not a brand new case. It's from 1950s. So it's seen a lot of action, you know what I mean? And on the sides, I'm just going to hit the cloth with a little bit of this cleaner, and we'll just kind of wipe it down again. And again, it might take a couple of times going after it. This stuff is really good, but it's not, I mean, it's not miracle stuff. They'll probably tell you it's miracle stuff, though. Already, look at that cleanup that we've made on there. And that's really my approach when I'm preparing a machine for a customer. It doesn't matter where they are in the US or around the world. I really, as Paula Noel says, Scott, you're all about detail. I love that about you. I love the detail of what you do with your work. Everything from the way you prepare the machines to writing personal notes, every aspect of it. It's world class. It's unto itself. So I'll probably go over that again, but look at the impact that we brought even in that small amount of time. A little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of this cleaner, and already this case is starting to look a lot more presentable, a lot more presentable. Of course, up here we still have a lot of filth. We haven't gotten above that demarcation line there. So we're going to spray this down a little bit as well and get this cleaned up. And I've already, if you didn't see it, I've already done a pre-preview and premiere, or a private showing of Kimberly's, I don't know where Rebecca came from, Kimberly's Swedish Beauty, and I did that with the intent of just showing it to her, but then I wanted to share it with all of you, so I did post that publicly, but I might end up doing another premiere before this machine goes out the door. It's very possible. So kind of keep watch for Kimberly's Swedish Beauty popping up on the radar. Well, I don't know what you can see through the camera, but what I'm starting to see is a case that very, very proudly can house a Swedish Beauty, and people will, you know, it's not going to diminish. It's not going to be looking at a yucky case and then all of a sudden having a wow factor after the case is open and you can see the machine. If nothing else, they should be at least not distracted by how filthy and disgusting the case is. You know what I mean? And things get dirty, don't they, when they sit around and they're not being used or they're not being maintained. But if you ever wondered what Scott does, you know, does he have banker's hours? No. Right now it's going on 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and I'm down in the workshop working on this case. That one spot right there is really going to be a booger if you can see it. I think you can see it. I'm going to point with my finger. Nope, you can't. Let me widen this shot. We were angled for the other side of that. So that one spot, and down towards the center to the left, That's actually a small little imperfection or a tear in the material. And I'll probably put a little bit of mender on that, but you know, again, it's not going to be a perfect case because it's a used case. It's gotten a lot amount of use. So just real gently with some steel wool, I'm just going to real gently work over this, but I'm going to put a little bit of that cleaner on it first so that it's got a little bit of a buffer so we don't dig too deep and damage that surface. And really, really take it light. Whatever that stuff is, it's kind of a sticky compound, you know? Kind of sticky. And I'm only applying a little bit of pressure, going more for speed and kind of agitating that material a little bit to kind of loosen things up. Just don't want to do too much because it'll end up damaging. That's probably about as far as I can go with it. Now we'll wipe over it again and see if that cleans up just a little bit better. So we can see we made a huge impact. Other than a little spot right there, we've all but eliminated it, and we haven't, from what I can see, we haven't done any damage at all to that very soft cloth. It's all in how your approach and your touch, isn't it? You can't come in like a bull in a china cabinet or a china shop. You get a bull in a china cabinet, it's probably a pretty big china cabinet. Yes, I get pretty slappy when it gets to be almost 8 o'clock at night, and I've been working in the workshop off and on since about 8 o'clock this morning. So it's been almost 12 hours. So again, those skeptics that want to say that this isn't being gainfully employed, if 12 hours a day isn't enough, then I don't want your type of work. If you're working more than 12 hours a day, that's for sure. Or I'll end up in the hospital with internal bleeding again like I did just last year. Really a light touch, and notice I'm kind of going with the grain as well. The grain runs horizontally, so I'm trying to go with that grain instead of going against it. And this particular steel wool I'm using is not the finest steel wool you can get. The stuff I'm using is, and if you didn't know anything about steel wool, there's actually like a gauge on steel wool that you can look at the bag, the packaging, you can see. We'll use this stuff down here. It's going to be ultra coarse. So above 0 it goes 1, 2, 3. And then below 0 it goes 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then the last one is 4 zeros, which is like super duper fine. Really, really fine stuff. Hopefully you can see that in the shot. So the red block, you can see where this stuff is. It's a little bit below 0, so it's still, I guess technically it's in the coarse range, but it's not nearly as coarse as if you were all the way over here. So it's got enough grit to bite, but it's not gonna bite so hard that's gonna be ripping stuff up right away, unless you go onto it too hard. But I wouldn't mind picking up some of this stuff over in this range. You know, the 0, probably not the 4 zeros, but the 3 zeros, I'd like to give that a go. So if anybody wants to give me some of that for a stocking stuffer, you know what? I would be incredibly grateful if you know where to find it. This is actually, it's fairly, well, I wouldn't say it's vintage steel wool, but this is not definitely brand new off the shelf. So let's give that a spray again and let's see what impact we had on that nasty stain on the front. Well, you know what? It's not perfect, but that is an improvement, isn't it? That's a big improvement. Now we need to clean this other side. You see this side right here, if you look real close, it still has a lot of that dirt and staining and just looks nasty. This side we've hit a little bit already, but we still have to hit that side a little bit more. We might have to use steel wool on this as well, just softly to kind of work into that grain and get the rest of that staining off. But the case, all in all, from where it started to where it is now, it's starting to look like it should. That's for sure. Starting to look like it should. Well, those of you that don't know my process real well, I can tell you on the Swedish Beauties, I've got almost 130 steps now that I take machines through, from bobbing the balance wheel. So if you already own a Swedish Beauty, but you're getting a real low-level servicing locally, which, you know what, that's generally going to be the case, because the average service time for service centers across the country is right around 30 to 45 minutes. There's only so much you can do in 30 to 45 minutes. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, certain things take certain amount of times. That's why when you go into like an automotive place and they're going to do, say, a timing belt, they can look in a book and it'll tell them exactly how long a task like that should take. To do a task properly, it's going to take time, and over time they figure out how long. Well, I can tell you on a Swedish Beauty like this for Kimberly, it's going to be from start to finish, it's going to be right around 14 hours. 14 to 16 hours depending on what I encounter. Now you compare 14 to 16 hours to 45 minutes for an average service, it becomes kind of a no-brainer considering my rates are almost exactly the same. They're a little bit more. They're almost exactly the same as service times when you're only getting 45 minutes worth of work. So it gets to be a pretty easy decision. Yeah, there's some shipping involved, but you know, when you compare the service level, it becomes a pretty easy decision for most folks, especially when they love their machine. You know, they want that machine to be able to be at the top of its game, and the only way that can happen is to get the level of servicing that I do. And there's no one else in the world that does that level of servicing. I get that feedback from folks that have been doing it even longer than me. Folks that have been doing it 30 or 40 years as opposed to 20, 22 years. See that? Even just a little bit of attention to detail on that handle. Already that handle is starting to get a beautiful shine to it. You can't quite see that because of the angle of the camera. There you go. Now you can see it. But my customers tell me all the time they appreciate me going the extra distance. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing as long as my customers are willing to support my business that I've been at for over 2 decades. I'm going to keep on doing it. And I'm just going to turn a deaf ear to those skeptics that say, is VSM really a thing? Do you really have a real business, Scott? Are you gainfully employed? That's my answer again, especially to Alice down in Green Bay. Well, that's looking a lot better, isn't it? That's looking a lot better. Well, I'm going to keep working on this case until I get it to a point where I feel like it's good enough. And my good enough is a pretty high bar, so I'll probably plot a little bit more time on it, plug a little bit more on it, go after some of these little stain marks that are barely even visible now on this case. But even as it is right now, this is a case that any one of my customers, I think, would be proud to carry their Swedish Beauty in. It wouldn't be something that they'd be like, well, wait until you see the machine. The case isn't much. Well, the case is only the wrapper, right? It's only the wrapper. And it's also the guard as well. It's going to protect that machine, keep grandchildren's hands away from it, and children's hands away from it, and anything else that might have an impact on it. But it's also going to give you the chance to show it off. That's the beauty of having a case for any machine, is you can get out there and you can go to quilting retreats and sewing expos and everywhere else. And they're going to look at that case, and anyone that's even slightly savvy is going to know right away there's a Swedish Beauty in there, but they're not going to know necessarily what model it is. So this will get their, really this will whet their appetite. And then once you open it up, hand them a rag, because they're going to be salivating. They're going to be salivating, I guarantee it. Especially with a machine like this one over here on the workbench. It's going to be heading to Clinton, Massachusetts. So let me show you that machine, and then we're going to end this. I didn't want this to be real long. I just wanted to kind of show you a little bit of some of the stuff that I do late into the evening sometimes. So this is Kimberly's machine right here, and if you missed the kind of the behind the scenes thing that I did with this, these are some of the stitches that I laid down on this machine right there. I know. They're spectacular. They're absolutely spectacular stitches. They're gorgeous, aren't they? They're absolutely gorgeous. Now, do you know what model this is, based on the stitches you're seeing there? If you're real smart on Swedish Beauties, you might know that. Tell you what, let me come off the tripod, we'll go over by the machine, and you can take a closer look. And by the way, the material you can see right there, number one, you can see the thickness of it. Close to 4 ounces, right? That happens to be protected full grain leather. Protected full grain leather is one of the toughest leathers to get through, because they fortify that surface with a special coating to protect it against staining and to protect it against excessive wear. It's going to increase the wearability factor. So we're looking at what? We're looking at a straight stitch, we're looking at a zigzag, we're looking at something that almost looks like it's probably a 3-point zigzag. This one right here, a 3-point zigzag. And then we've got another version of 3-point zigzag, and then we have a blind hem stitch right there. And that's not the only one I did. I sewed all of these as well. I love protected full grain leather because it really is a true test. And then I did sewing in a circle, which I love. Y'all know that. But we laid down just absolutely picture perfect. There's some of the lock stitching on the back of there. Laid down absolutely perfect stitching, top stitch and lock stitch with this model. Do you know what model this is yet? Show you over the top, maybe that'll give you a big clue. Oh, what's that thing right there? What is that thing? Well, that happens to be the cam adjuster, right? And there's only one model in the green series that has that, and they were so serious about it being a special feature of the machine that they actually branded the machine special with that beautiful crown. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Whoever came up with the logo for that company, I would love to shake their hand, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you love to shake their hand? Look at that. So a special model. Well, why is it special? Well, it's special because unlike the other green machines, with this particular one, you don't need to put cams in, because the cams are already engineered into the machine. And yes, you have fewer stitches, but you've got the core stitches that most serious sewers or quilters or seamstresses or tailors or leather workers or anybody in that neck of the woods that is doing this serious and maybe even professionally, they're going to want these core stitches. They're going to want that straight. They're going to want that zigzag. They're going to want that 3-point zigzag, because it's just ornamentally, it's just a gorgeous stitch when you manipulate the stitch length, etc. And then they're going to want, a blind hem stitch. Blind hem is always a good stitch to have, isn't it? Well, if you haven't guessed yet from this and from all the other stuff that I said, this is none other than a Husqvarna Type 19E Special. And there were some Type 19s, but this is a 19E Special. One of the models that is quite rare. As a matter of fact, my friend Hans from Norway said that, boy oh boy, that would be his dream machine. He would love to get a hold of a 19E Special, because over in Norway, and Norway is right next door to Sweden, you can't find them. They're like that needle in the haystack. You just can't find them anywhere. And so Kimberly really made a great selection. I'm glad I had this available for her. Number one, you don't have to fuss with putting the cams in. You get all the core stitches that are so essential. You got an incredible original Swedish 1-amp motor, which is going to give you more than enough gusto to get the job done. And I mean, it's just such an easy machine to use too. I demonstrated that when I presented it to her in a private showing, and then I released that private showing to the public. So you'll want to check that out. Look for that. I don't remember exactly what the title is, but it's going to be one of the recent premieres about a 19E special. I don't show these machines very often because they just aren't around. You can't find them. If you can't find them in Norway or Sweden like Hans couldn't, then you're not going to be able to find them anywhere else. Because that's where they were made. That's where they were made. So, all right, well, I'm going to get back to work in finalizing this machine. Finalizing means that I go through it again and I verify everything. Even though I've done all of this already and it's spot on, I go through one last time from bobbing the balance wheel, verify everything, and do the final cleanup on the machine, put some polish on it as well, not that it really needs it, and then I might do a follow-up premiere on this. It won't be a real long one. Do a follow-up premiere, and then I go into that crazy packing on steroids thing that I do. And to pack one like this, because you've got to pack the machine so it'll still fit in that case. So there's a lot of width and height distances and depth distances. And I showed you on that other premiere, when you wrap these to go into that case, you've got to leave this space open so it'll slide into the back. So just a lot of, there's a science to packing. There just is. And my packing method is, I've got a bias, but it's the best in the world. And I've been told that countless times, and I have people around the world using it. So that says something, doesn't it? So a quick shout out to Kimberly as I present this. And also just as a special thank you to her, I'm just going to show this to y'all. I threw in a complimentary pack of size 90-14 Schmetz leather needles. And then I'm also, as a special Christmas type holiday gift to her, I'm throwing in a roller foot as well that she can use on this Swedish beauty. And I do that to a lot of my customers. I would say all of them. I always try to throw some little surprises in, some little goodies. Because I always want to, we used to say when I was in the corporate world, you want to exceed the customer's expectations. You know, customers expecting this level, then you go to this level just to blow their socks off. So that's kind of my philosophy. I've had that since I worked in corporate America. I did that when I used to work in healthcare, and now I do it with this as a professional restorer and as a sewing machine aficionado. And every time I hear this song, I think of my friend Olga from France. Listen to this. This is totally a French song. That's part of the reason I put this up. I put this up for Olga. Also, Olga used to be on my moderating team. She had some things come up in life and couldn't do that anymore. I put this up to honor her as well. Eiffel Tower. I actually touched that when I was in Paris. It's really a cool structure, but it's kind of anticlimactic when you get there. It's just a real tall, well, there it is. But you always have to pick up an Eiffel Tower when you're in France too, you know what I mean? That's where this came from. Yep. I don't remember what I paid for it, but probably too much. So, but I digress. Sort of, kind of. All right, well, again, shout out to Kimberly out in Clinton, Massachusetts. I had hoped to get this shipped by Saturday, which is probably, I'm going to be premiering this and showing it on Sunday. So I hope to ship it yesterday, which would have been Saturday. Now it's Friday. Oh, I'm so confused. This is like when I was joking around with Paula today and I said, I memorized who's on first. And then I did a little audio clip and I shot it over to her and she sent me a bunch of laughing emojis like, you gotta be kidding, you did it. But there's no way I could get it out the door. We've got major storms rolling through right now. As we speak, it's snowing outside and we're supposed to get about 10 inches of snow. And but then next week they're talking about it being in the upper 50s and 60s. So then we're going to have flood warnings. Who knows? So yeah, keep watch and touch base with me occasionally to see if I'm still alive or whether or not I'm sitting in the boat next to the workshop waiting for the tide to come in. You never know, right? All right, well, let me get back to this Swedish beauty. It's going on 10 minutes to 8 right now, 10 p.m., almost 10 minutes to 8, going, 12 hours almost for today with this Cow Country vintage sewing machines and restoration. But you know what? My customers are worth it. And I appreciate them so much and the opportunities that they bring to me, either through machines they purchase like this one that Kimberly did, or machines they send to the workshop. And there's a long line of them, folks. I just got to be honest with you. A long line. And they're continuing to come in every week, which is great. Help! Help! Oh, I think it's time for a gumball. It's definitely time for a gumball. Yeah. All right. Well, stay tuned, and brief premiere on this probably next week, and then it's going to go in the mail heading towards Clinton, Massachusetts. What a great place to live, huh? So much history in that neck of the woods. History, history, history. Kind of like where I have my workshop. Why I bought this place. History on the bay, and I make history every day here. Yeah, I do. Take care, everybody. God bless.